And then all of a sudden, it's just like, well, if I'm going, I need my team.
I got to do it my way.
If you're going where? To the asteroid?
I noticed that
you
when I
never
watched
said
it.
anything about it. I rewound it 4 times and like word for word through the conversation to try to figure out when it was made clear that Bruce Willis is taking the team and not the astronaut.
I'm sure you got a team of men sitting around somewhere right now just thinking stuff and somebody backing them up.
Welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast, coming at you from the Slice on Oak Studios. I am Mayor Dave Badeaux, the city Brennan. With me, as always, is my brother.
Oh, not on my chest.
I've snuck a couple new ones in there, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had some fun with them lately, so we'll see what I can pull up.
I think my favorite one it catches me off guard every time, is I didn't ask to be born.
That's a pretty good one. I've started just pulling random comments that you've had, so that's been a lot of fun. It's like makes no sense at all. Hey, Gabriel Johnson, the councilman, is here as well.
Dave, how are you doing?
I'm excited. You ready to talk 1998 movies?
Let's do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this, of course, is the Be Kind Rewind. 1998, Part 2. So we are going to start right off with the movies of 1998. I think we can say right from the beginning that this year stuck out as something that we were like, holy shit, this is quite a banger year for movies.
Yeah, I watched more movies in the last week than I have in a decade.
Same.
And it was one of those things where it was, you just look at the list and you're like, wow, there's so many good movies. But then you watch some of these movies, and I think we're going to get into that. But before we do, I just want to list right off at the top grossing films of the year. Titanic, which we are actually removing because technically that's a 1997 movie. However, it made most of its money in 1998 because it was the number one movie for, I want to say, like the first 5 months. Something like that. It was ridiculous. And making hand over fist every week, which is crazy. Coming in right after that is Armageddon, which I think we all remember fondly.
Seen it?
Yes.
Yeah, everyone in the world has seen Armageddon.
They don't know jack about drilling.
And then right below that, Saving Private Ryan, which I was really surprised by to see those numbers, because Saving Private Ryan, really great movie, but I didn't.
Right. A big, depressing war movie
that made that much money.
that everybody wanted to see.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then lastly, right under that, and I think where we're going to start off with, the fourth highest grossing film of 1998 was a little movie called Something About Mary.
There's Something About Mary.
There's Something About Mary.
Make some veins!
Let's get started. Gabe, I know you watched it. I watched it. Scott, did you watch this one?
I did not get
Okay, you
around
did
to
not
that
get
one.
to this one. However, Gabe, I know you watched it. And
I
you have
watched
thoughts.
it.
Let's go.
My thoughts are this might be the first movie where filmmakers figured out that millennials were deciding which movie to go to.
Sure.
A lot of retard jokes, a lot of gay jokes.
a lot of gay jokes.
But it debuted fourth when it came out.
Yes.
It was behind Armageddon, Lethal Weapon 4, and Mask of Zorro.
Yep.
And then it just stayed. It just made $10 million a week for 2 months.
I think it hit number one at some point.
It did, yeah. Weeks 8 and 9
Yeah,
after it was released. It was number one.
So that's what I remember the most about this movie is I remember, I believe it was the summer, correct? It came out in the summer, and then it was one of those where I went to it multiple times. I remember going to this movie more than once.
And that's how I think it did well at the box office. Is I think there were very few people with unrefined senses of humor who kept going to see it.
I thought this was the funniest thing I had ever seen.
No, I loved this movie.
Yeah.
I did in 98, I did.
Yeah. So you want my quick take on how I felt about it? I just rewatched it a couple nights ago. I gave Callie the option, Something About Mary or BASEketball. She did not go BASEketball. In hindsight, probably should have went BASEketball. I, at the beginning of this movie, was very delighted. I was like, oh man, I haven't seen this in probably 20 years. I was like, okay. And it started, and I was having a really fun time through the part with the Franks and the Beans in the bathroom. I will argue that the him zipping his nuts into his zipper still holds up.
That was a good scene. Like the fire chief gets in there, like, bring everybody. You gotta see this.
When the police officer comes to the window, I fucking died. Right, what's going on? Just into the back.
I heard a woman scream over it.
To the back bathroom window and just peeks his head in and then crawls through the window. That's hilarious. It didn't take long for me to realize that, oh no, this movie doesn't hold up as well as I would have hoped.
I just realized that I've been thinking of the movie Me, Myself, and Irene this whole time.
Oh, that is a great one.
Yeah.
But I haven't watched it in 20 years.
And so let's go back real quick. Fairly Brothers. So we have, at this point, they knocked Dumb and Dumber out of the park. They came back with, what was the second film?
Kingpin?
Was Kingpin their second?
I don't know if it was second.
Okay, but this is the next in the line of that. So they've had a couple of hits in a row, and then this comes out, goes gangbusters. Everybody saw this movie. Everybody loved this movie. Thought it was hilarious. And then now this is a film that 25 years later, I can't recommend it. I can't recommend it. Even though I thought I loved it, and even 15 minutes in, I still thought I loved this movie. By the end, I was like, oh no, what happened here?
I thought you said she was a real spark plug.
No, I said butt plug. She's heinous.
But Matt Dillon does a great job.
Matt Dillon does a great job. There's some interesting stuff. There's some funny bits. It feels very much like you're watching skits from SNL that are kind of pasted together loosely.
Yeah.
And the thing I didn't like the most is they've got the two-man band that plays in between scenes.
Oh, yeah.
And that made it worse to me, where it's like, oh, you're just trying to figure out a way to tie these together. So the way you tied it together was have two dudes sing about what just happened. I don't know, man.
It was kind of like bits, but then some of the sketches were just hilarious.
Yeah.
Like the Harlan Williams in the car, the hitchhiker.
Yes.
Inventing 7-minute abs.
Does the twitch again from
Harlan Williams is great.
Yeah, and I will say him going to the rest stop and tripping over the gay guys, which was set up perfectly by his therapist earlier. He's like, rest stops, that's a homosexual hangout. And then it turns out it's a homosexual hangout. Again, heavy on the gay jokes, heavy on the other jokes, the late 90s jokes. But yeah, I don't know. How did you feel by the end?
I thought she should have picked Brett Favre.
Brett?
What the hell is Brett Favre doing?
Fun that he shows up.
Fun classic 98. Yeah,
And then
Brett
he opens his mouth.
He's not in it.
Yeah, really bad.
Yeah. Dan Marino slightly better in Ace Ventura. Slightly better.
Noticeably.
Noticeably. Yeah. There's comedy to be had. Him fighting the dog and the dog going out the window. There are things that you remember that are pretty classic bits from this movie, but the stuff that ties it together is so loose and I would actually argue pretty boring. That by the end of this movie, I know the plot. I've seen it probably dozens of times or a dozen times. By the end of it, I was done. I was very much done with this movie, which was surprising to me. Really surprising. I would have put this as like high on the list because this is one that I remember being like, that was like the funniest thing I'd ever seen.
It was like mind blowing.
Yeah.
All the Fairley Brothers were as a teenager. It's like,
yeah,
you can put this on film.
Well, and that they did lean heavy into, the jizz on the ear. The part where the guy's getting a blowjob and she pops up, yeah.
Watching America's Most Wanted or something.
Yeah, there's comedy to be had, but as an entire movie, I would argue that, it just didn't do it for me. I'm going to say it. So.
Oh my God.
Should we move on from that? Since we brought it up, I'm going to toss out BASEketball.
Okay.
So another movie that I remember loving. This was probably as far into my wheelhouse as you could get in terms of 1998. It was the guys from South Park. It was the people that did like Airplane,
Naked Gun and Airplane,
Top
Secret, all that.
Yep.
Zucker. Well, one of the Zuckers.
One of them, yeah.
David Zucker.
Yep. And as far into that camp as I think you could get, plus just the idea that you've created this sport. But as a kid, you've done this 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
You've created 1,000 sports, and now they've created this and made it a big deal. Let's go. Give me your take on BASEketball.
I love that movie.
Okay. Did you watch it?
Nope.
Okay.
I've probably seen it in the last 5 years.
Okay. Okay. Gabe, I know you watched it.
Love it. Holds up.
Okay.
Just the premise is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's tight. The difference between something about Mary and BASEketball is very tight. It moves at a quick pace. It doesn't spend too much time on the bits. It gets you from where you're going. I liked it. The half that I got to watch, I had 2 films that this happened to me because we are recording this on January 2nd. I don't know if you know this or not, but January 1st is the new year. I started BASEketball on New Year's Eve after we got done with everything with our family. It was like 12:30 at night. I just started watching BASEketball. And I woke up the next morning and I was like, oh, I'm going to finish BASEketball. It had been removed and I couldn't.
What?
Yeah, I couldn't finish the movie.
Oh, no.
Yes, I was super disappointed. So I started Saving Private Ryan, only to have Saving Private Ryan do the same fucking thing to me the next day.
Oh, is that gone now?
It's off of Netflix. Yeah. So I was watching it on Netflix and and that was weird because I watched it on the 1st. And then it booted me off.
Yeah,
I couldn't
they would
watch
have
it.
kicked it at midnight.
Yeah.
Or whatever time they are, I guess.
So I think it must have been, I can't remember exactly what the time frame was, but I tried to finish Saving Private Ryan last night. And I couldn't on that service, so I had to switch services. Yeah.
What are the fucking odds of that?
Yeah, it was really, really bizarre. I was like, what is happening right now? What? But BASEketball, I will say 2 things. We talked about Summer of Ska. This, of course, is 98, so it's the continuation of the Summer of Ska, and Real Big Fish, obviously, are in that. I love Real Big Fish. They sing the song Beer, which I, at 15, should admit this, but I was a kid that was getting into the alcohol, and I loved this song. Probably fell over multiple times singing this song really loud. The other thing I want to say about that movie was Bob Costas and Al Michael.
Yes.
Yeah.
They do a great job.
Yeah, it turns out they're good sportscasters.
Yeah, I'm constantly surprised at sportscasters in movies.
Yes.
They're always good.
Yeah.
They're always good.
That's going to be a draft we should do. Top sportscasters in movies would be a good draft. I don't know if we can find 15 of them, but yeah, I can think of quite a few that would do a very good job. Even if you're just going like the kid in Mighty Ducks, in like Mighty Ducks 3, right? It's just a good time. The other thing was in the background, you see Allsport, which stuck out like a sore thumb. Do you remember Allsport? Mm-hmm. I don't remember who it was. I thought it was Pepsi, but maybe it was Coke. It was just another.
Well, Coke's Powerade.
Yeah, they have Powerade.
But I want to say when I looked this up before that Allsport was Coke, but it might not have been. But it was just an attempt at having another Gatorade, and wow, that thing stuck out like a sore thumb. I was like, oh yeah, that was in every freaking sports drink. Remember how they used to have vending machines with just sports drinks?
Oh,
yeah, it's crazy.
We do at the hockey rink. We have a fridge for Prime. We have a fridge for BioSteel.
Yeah, that's great. Good movie though, holds up for half.
Second half's good too.
Okay, perfect.
Circles back around. They end up better friends than they began with.
Yeah, the thing I love about Zucker films is that there's always something happening, whether it's in the dialogue or in the background. There's always something happening.
Yeah, I think
that catches your eye and makes you chuckle.
There's some of the best bits are just the guy in the whirlpool spinning around, right? Like it's such a Zucker thing.
Just go right past it.
The giant dicks is also very funny. Very funny. You had said though that Trey Parker and Matt Stone do not like this movie.
That's what it said on I Googled it.
It seems
do not like.
It's weird to me because it seems very much them, and I actually really enjoyed watching them be themselves as characters.
Yeah.
It's satisfying. And I would be disappointed to hear that that's actually true because It's a fun movie.
It is, but they didn't write it. Like it's the only
True.
thing that they've been in that they didn't
Okay.
write and produce or whatever, you know.
Sure. Yeah, it's fun. Moving on from, can we move on from that? I want to throw out another one that I can't stand. And I hate to do that, to be like front loaded on things I can't stand, but Godzilla came out in 1998 and I fucking hate that movie. And I've hated that movie since the word go. But there are people out there, I assume, that like that movie. I don't know.
I liked that movie.
Do you still like that movie?
I watched it the other night. I watched it after I watched Armageddon.
Okay.
I liked it better than Armageddon.
Holy.
Wow.
That's a hot take.
Yep. That's my hot take for the week.
I
think Godzilla is a better movie than Armageddon.
We almost didn't talk about Godzilla, and that's your hot take.
Yep.
Okay, let's hear it then. Why?
First and foremost, it's not a Godzilla movie.
No, it's not.
So you get that out of the way right away. If you just watch it as just a generic monster movie, monster takes over New York, it works.
Okay.
It works. It's just, I mean, there's obviously some silliness to it. It's a mutated iguana or something, and they find out some. The first half is significantly better than the second half.
Yes.
The second half kind of goes off the rails a little bit.
Yep.
But I like Hank Azaria.
He's great. He's the best part of the movie.
I love Hank Azaria in that movie. He does a fucking great job.
Great job.
There's just not that much about it that's like super unbelievable, unlike Armageddon, where in Armageddon, every fucking thing that happens is unbelievable.
It's pretty driven by disbelief.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll get there.
We will. I can't believe that though. I think
I couldn't believe it either. 30 minutes in, I was just smirking to myself, thinking, "Do I like this movie?
Oh no!
Do I fucking like this movie?"
I hate that movie. I hate it, and I have always hated that movie.
I have not seen it yet.
So unlike
It's not great.
no,
It's not great.
unlike Something About Mary, I do not have fond memories of this, and I did watch half of it, and I shut it off because I was like, "Yep, this is exactly what I fucking remember." And that was the first half. I wasn't watching the second half. I was watching the first half.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's mystery. There's the part with the 3 boats that start getting dragged under.
It's the
It's if somebody were to remake that movie and just shoot it a little bit differently, turn it into like a Aliens type, more horror kind of movie, I think it would be fucking great.
Okay, so my main problem with this movie is it's raining the entire fucking movie. I think there's one scene in that movie where it is not raining, so it is just a weird take on life.
They tell you in the news report that the more rain's gonna keep coming.
But they start off in the South Pacific, and then he ends up, and spoiler alert, Godzilla ends up in New York. I don't know if you know anything about the world, but South Pacific is not the Atlantic. This fucking dinosaur iguana went around the world to get to New York because, as they explain, it's a perfect environment for him. It's got rivers. He can hide in there. Yeah. It's an island that he can hide in.
Yeah, it's just an animal nesting.
On the other side of the fucking planet.
There's probably a lot of really nice islands in the South Pacific for an iguana.
It's like, you know what I really want to do? I really want to get in the Hudson. That's what that's what my goal in life. Well, for him, I guess.
Yeah, he's radioactive.
Yeah, he's radioactive. So it's raining the entire time. I will say this: it is written and directed by Roland Emmerich. Okay, so let's go through his list of movies. His first movie that he directed was 1992, Universal Soldiers, which I was going to talk about Universal Soldiers because
isn't it just Universal Soldier?
Universal Soldier. Yep. Universal Soldier 2 and Universal Soldier 3 both came out in 1998, and I thought that was Soldier. I thought that was the funniest. I thought that was the funniest thing in the world. Turns out they were just TV movies. 99, they come back with Universal Soldier: The Return. But 1992, Universal Soldier. 1994, Stargate. 1996, Independence Day.
I did not know he did Stargate.
Yep, Independence Day, and I like Stargate. Falls apart at the end, but it's a good movie. 1996, Independence Day. 1998, Godzilla. 2000, The Patriot. So every 2 years, he is just kicking out movies. And then 2004 was The Day After Tomorrow. So he's got a formula, You know, he's got your Independence Day, Stargates, Godzilla, Day After Tomorrow, very, very similar
Right.
in structure.
They're all like disaster movies.
Yes. But I will argue that I don't like the way that this movie sets up the monster or anything. I think that's the one part I like about Armageddon, which we'll talk about later, is how quickly it gets to what's going on. They spend a lot of time bringing this monster into play. It's like 20 minutes before you see the monster at all.
Yeah, it's mysterious.
I wouldn't call it mysterious. The scene that you liked,
It's tension.
the scene that you liked where the boats get dragged under, I was like, that's just fucking Jaws. They just were like, oh, it's bigger than Jaws, so there's 3 boats instead of 1.
Imagine you're one of the guys on one of the boats.
Yeah. And then my favorite part of the boat scene is that the boats get dragged under and then one pops up like a bobber. No. All right. Anyways, any other take on Godzilla other than that you like it?
I enjoyed it.
Okay.
I had some fun with it. Okay. Again, by the end, the last 20 minutes kind of sucked.
Yeah. Isn't this the movie that on the soundtrack starts yelling "Wake up"?
Yeah, P. Diddy did the soundtrack, right?
Did he? Yeah. Yeah.
Siskel and Ebert
Okay.
are the mayor and his assistant.
Oh, I didn't get that far.
And they have fucking dope ass chemistry in this movie.
Do they?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Oh yeah. Ebert just shits on Siskel the whole fucking movie. And it's good.
Going back to Gabe's 1998 comment, there is just 10 minutes in, just they throw out a retouch right away. Just to make sure you remember where you are. Oh,
Yep.
98. We're here.
Yeah.
We're here.
Really jarring.
Yeah, very jarring. And it's
Whoa.
Like, it's like Hank
I
Azaria's.
forgot you used to be able to say that.
And it's like Hank Azaria's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah, just get back here, you.
yeah. We'll bleep it. Don't worry. But anyways, yeah. Okay. Very similar movie to Armageddon in structure.
Yeah.
Yeah. However, does that lead us to our next part of 1998 that we have to talk about? 1998 is the year of the double up. They're movies that are the exact same movie that are played twice. So we've got Antz and Bug's Life. Both came out the same year. Both did pretty well.
Both made money.
Yep. Bug's Life did better. Antz, I'm a bigger fan of Bug's Life.
Same. I watched Antz with the family last week, and they all thought it was drab.
Oh, really?
Because it's just a lot of brown tones, and it's just Woody Allen sulking around, complaining, and so Bug's Life is a lot brighter and more optimistic.
Well, and it is before they were really doing very good textures as well. So
It was boxy.
It's very boxy and it's very flat. If I remember that movie correctly, I think there's like individual pebbles that you could like count. It's like, oh, you added 3 pebbles to this scene. Sweet. Bug's Life is better.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Also not great, though. I don't think that's a great movie. I'm beating down doors to watch.
No, it's one of the bottom of Pixar.
Yeah.
It's down there with Cars 3.
When I was a kid, at the end of A Bug's Life, I saw that movie in theaters with my dad, and I laughed my absolute ass off. It's one of the first times in my life that I can remember like crying laughing. Because they do bloopers.
Oh, yes. Yep.
they do animated bloopers at the end of this movie.
Bloopers,
Yeah, fake bloopers. And there's one where the bird's supposed to eat the guy and it seizes up because the bird's a robot.
Sure.
And it can't, I don't know. I died laughing when I was 12. I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. Never expected it. I love bloopers.
Yeah.
To this day, bloopers are some of my favorite things to watch.
Bloopers are great. Something about Mary ends with they did like a musical number to Buttercup. Is that what that song is called? Yeah. Which meant that throughout the filming, they had to stop and do these little parts of the ending of the movie, which is them doing a song and dance. So each scene, they filmed a little piece and then put them all together. I would have been so fucking annoyed if I was one of those actors. It's like, can we just move on? Please?
Can we just do the movie?
Yeah, this is going to take like 3 months. Can we just move the fuck on? Yeah. Secondary to the double up, we will talk Armageddon and Deep Impact, but let's talk Truman Show.
Truman Show, I watched it. Very good movie.
Okay.
I started it thinking thought I liked it. But I was thinking of Ed TV with
Okay.
Matt McConaughey. So I thought I liked Ed TV, but then as I was watching the Truman Show, it was all coming back to me like, oh, wait, yeah, this is good. This is good content. I like this.
Yeah, and Ed TV, you said, is 1999, correct? Okay. Yeah, Truman Show is very, very good.
It's one of my favorite movies.
Okay. The one I'm going to toss
Right
out,
after Godzilla.
Did you eat a lot of paint chips when you were a kid?
Matthew Broderick is terrible, and I think that's the reason I hate that movie. I'm not a Matthew Broderick fan.
Yeah, he's not great.
Yeah. The one I'm going to throw in here with the Truman Show, and it's a bit of a twist, but it's a twist. The movie Pleasantville also came out in 1998, and it is the same, only reversed. Whereas in the Truman Show, he is the person that doesn't know he's on TV. In Pleasantville, they go into the TV, and the people that are in the TV don't know that they're on TV. But it is very much the same concept. The same tropes play out throughout the entire thing. But let's talk Truman Show a little bit, because I do also really like this movie. My son Maverick actually said that this is one of his favorite movies, all-time favorite movies.
I always liked that kid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's weird. Well, that was like the time when he told me like his favorite band was
Green Day?
no. You can't do that to me, because there's a very good chance that I could have just lost what I was thinking there. No, Queen. He said, Queen's my favorite band. And I go, name 3 Queen songs. And he listed off like 20. Yeah. I was like, okay, impressive.
My kids like Freddie Mercury too.
Yeah.
That voice is.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk Truman Show. Let's go.
So Jim Carrey is locked into a bubble by Christoph. From the time of birth. So the movie picks up and only catches him as an adult, married, in a daily routine with a career.
Yep.
But apparently they were tracking his entire childhood and everything in the Truman Show. So this was a reality show that just spanned this guy's entire life.
Yep. And he doesn't know.
He has no idea.
Everyone else is actors.
Like at the beginning of the movie, a light falls
Yep.
from the sky and lands in the street outside of his house. And he pokes it with a stick, but then goes about his business.
But they do a good job of then news reports and stuff to make sure that he's aware that, everyone else saw that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
wasn't just you.
Every time he gets in the car, the radio is telling him exactly.
Yeah.
He's trying to plan a trip to Fiji, and
Yes.
it's always like, another plane crash today.
That's good. You thinking of flying somewhere? Nope. Oh, good.
But it plays out very, very well. It seems like something that would be throwaway, right? You're like, that's kind of going to be kind of cute. It's very well done. And by the end, when he finds out what's going on and, tries to escape and is going through all these motions, it's a really cool concept of, for some reason, you kind of believe, aside from them being in the sky and being able to control the weather and stuff, you do kind of believe like there's a possibility that you could maybe pull this off. Maybe not someone's entire life.
That might be me right now.
Yeah. Maybe not for somebody's entire life, but at least through adolescence, you could convince fucking dumb kids.
Oh yeah, yeah. You go to school 3 blocks from home, and that's it.
Yeah,
Yep.
and you don't know any better. You're not going to Fiji.
Nope.
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Yeah.
All right, so let's tie it into Pleasantville. When we saw this list, I knew everybody liked Truman Show, so I was like, all right, we're going to talk about Truman Show. I remembered liking Pleasantville. So I thought, let's throw this on. Let's see if I like it. My thought was I'll just watch the beginning of it and just see if it holds up. And right away, complete opposite of Something About Mary. I was like, oh no, this does not hold up. And not only that, I thought this isn't really what I remember, because I remembered Pleasantville kind of being a little bit art house a little bit. They do a lot of cinematic scenes, like where stuff is black and white and then color starts to show up. And so all of the previews and all of the trailers for this was very cinematic, showing the beauty and the things that are being brought into this world. And as you start it, you're like, okay, it's very cheesy and directed. The beginning of the movie feels like it's directed at 15-year-olds, which was really weird to me. I didn't expect that at all. It's Tobey Maguire. Mm-hmm. Is it Tobey Maguire?
Yes. Yeah.
Tobey Maguire and I'm drawing a blank. Legally Blonde.
Oh,
Reese
Witherspoon. So they are brother and sister, and they're fighting over the TV. And they're literally fighting over the TV, and they break the remote. And it is cheesy and stupid. And then a TV repairman shows up, and it is Don Knotts. And he is cheesy and weird. And then he gives him a remote that is more cheesy and weird, like this super metallic, just the lamest looking thing you've ever seen. And they get sucked into the TV. And then from there, it turns into the movie that I remember it being, which is pretty fucking good. I was really surprised that once that happened, I was ready to shut it off. I was like, okay, this is totally different than what I remembered it being. And then it got its hooks in, and I was like, okay, this is actually a pretty good movie. It's pretty well done. And for the same reasons that the Truman Show is, they're in this world. Tobey Maguire is trying to get his sister to not mess up this world because he loves this show and he loves that it's simple and people have their lives and they just go from point A to point B. And she's having sex with dudes that don't know what sex is and causing an uproar.
Or maybe I should just pin you.
She's a fine young woman. She would never do anything for us to be concerned about.
But by the end, it turns into a pretty decent movie. There's a chunk in there that gets weird, where it becomes very, like, you would say racist, Starbelly Sneetches. Literally no colored people are allowed because they're either black and white or they're in color. But by the end, it's good. It has a Shawshank moment where he's standing in the rain with his hands up in the air as the camera kind of twirls and the music swells. A lot of people crying and the tear coming into color, a rose blooming in color. But I was really surprised. I was very, very surprised because when I started it, I did not like this movie. And by the end, I got halfway in and I was like, I guess I'm watching Pleasantville now. So
I'll have to go back. I haven't watched that for 25 years.
Get through the first 10 minutes because it's super cheesy, really, really cheesy, and feels like it's written for junior high kids. And then all of a sudden it changes its mind and it's like, oh no, this is what I remembered it being and what they actually build it as. So
there's a scene in that movie where they're playing basketball.
Okay.
And they all shoot at the same time, and everybody makes the basket at the same time. And it's like 15 people shooting at once, and they all make it. Really happened.
Really?
Yep. And again, Tobey Maguire, who also did the thing in Spider-Man where he catches all the food on the tray.
Yep.
Also really happened.
Really?
So in 2 movies that he's been in, there's a scene that should not be real and is.
Is Tobey Maguire magic?
Probably.
Wow.
So like 15 straight balls, just
and it doesn't look real.
It doesn't look real.
It doesn't look real.
It doesn't look real.
Yeah.
And it is.
Okay, cool.
Do not quote me on that.
I think that's the I think that's the start of when that movie actually becomes fun too. Because you're like, oh, this world is just completely broken.
Yeah.
And then they break the broken world, which is it's good. I really enjoyed it. So go after it. Okay, let's move on. And now we are at the biggest double up of 1998, Armageddon and Deep Impact. Literally the exact same movie. My take on this, super fast, is that I do not remember the movie Deep Impact. I tried to remember the movie Deep Impact. All I remember is that our good friend saves the day. That's all I remember. That's it.
Who's our good friend?
Who's the actor in it? I don't even remember his name now. What's his name? Morgan Freeman saves the day.
Well, he doesn't do anything.
Well, I don't know. I literally don't know.
The only thing Morgan Freeman does in this movie is tell you that you're all going to die. Every time he shows up on the TV, he says, "Our plan failed." He shows up on the TV once to say that there's a comet coming, it's going to hit Earth, and we're all going to die.
Yep.
And then the plan goes forward. They shoot off the spaceship to go blow it up. Next time he's on TV, it failed.
I'm starting to remember this now.
Our missiles have failed. The comets are still headed for Earth, and there's nothing we can do to stop them.
Isn't it just a big bummer of a movie?
Kinda. I don't know. Okay. I enjoy it because I love movies where the shit just goes wrong.
Sure.
Like movies where the bad guys win at the end.
Sure.
Are so surprising.
Okay.
That it catch me off guard. So every time he showed up on the TV, it was just like, we failed. I'm like, oh no, yeah.
That's really funny because I joked to you guys that I just said, Deep Impact. They should have done what Morgan Freeman did in Deep Impact, which evidently was just say we failed. The writer of Deep Impact claims that Disney stole this idea. He said he was in a pitch meeting with them, pitched a bunch of ideas, said he saw one of the executives frantically writing shit down, and then lo and behold, he sells his movie elsewhere, and they create the same movie at the same time. And they came out very, very close to each other. Deep Impact came out first, and then Armageddon came out like 3 or 4 months later. So, Gabe, do you remember Deep Impact at all?
No, I was thinking Sphere when you first brought up Deep Impact.
That's the problem with Deep Impact. Nobody remembers what Deep Impact is. So, worth it or not worth it?
It was okay. It was okay. It was pretty, I don't know, kind of boring. The main actor, Tia Leone, is a fucking bore.
Oh, that doesn't sound fun then.
I don't know if I've liked anything that she's been in.
Okay.
That might be personal preference.
Could be.
You know what's not boring? Armageddon.
So let's just move on. I think that's our cue to move on. Let's talk Armageddon. Let's do it.
All right.
So let's just, written by J.J. Abrams, directed by Michael Bay, and produced by Jerry Bruckheimer.
Yes.
That's
what you're
like
going to
the
get.
Holy Trinity.
And we have talked about, I have a deep love of Jerry Bruckheimer produced films. I do love that on the poster for this, it doesn't say a Michael Bay film. It says a Jerry Bruckheimer production. Just so you know what you're getting into. So this is them teaming up again after The Rock. So we had The Rock, then we had Bruckheimer doing Con Air.
Well, this is the first time Abrams writes it, though.
And then Abrams writes, and now we've got Michael Bay back on board. And let's talk about it. People love this movie.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, kind of like Deep Impact, I guess, for there's a comet coming towards Earth that's going to destroy us.
Yes. And the solution in this one is?
Find some guys who know how to drill for oil.
Because nothing says save the world like sending roughnecks into space to drill a hole, to plant a bomb.
A nuclear bomb.
A nuclear bomb to blow up the comet.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Damn it.
That slingshot around the moon, though.
Oh, that's the best part. That's the best part. Scott, what's your take on Armageddon? Since you liked Godzilla better than Armageddon.
Just a little bit better.
Okay.
Armageddon, there was just too many times watching it that I was like, huh? That doesn't make any sense at all. The part I rewound the part where Bruce Willis is talking with Billy Bob Thornton's character in the little hangar there, and Billy Bob Thornton tells Bruce Willis the plan to send these 8 astronauts up to drill a hole, and they need Bruce Willis to teach him how to run the ship. And Bruce Willis explains to Billy Bob Thornton that these guys don't know shit about drilling.
They don't know jack about drilling.
And then
there was no conversation.
There was no conversation, dude. No. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, well, if I'm going, I need my team.
I got to do it my way.
If you're going where? To the asteroid?
I noticed that
you
when I
never
watched
said
it.
anything about it. I rewound it 4 times and like word for word through the conversation to try to figure out when it was made clear that Bruce Willis is taking the team and not the astronauts.
Because he was originally not going up. He was going to teach these guys how to use the machine that he invented.
Sure. I was going to say, so
without conversation.
Without talking about it at all.
So hold on. So Bruce Willis decides, he's the one that decides.
Yes.
Okay. I saw a bunch of people online talking shit about the plot for this, and I was like, I don't care. Now I kind of care. Yeah. I didn't realize that Bruce Willis is the one that decided roughnecks to space.
NASA did not want that.
No. And it's just, he just like gets pushed out. Billy Bob Thornton's character is just like, okay.
Well, I'm just a nerd. Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. And it's really not clear. Like if I didn't know if I hadn't already seen the movie 100 times and knew that was what was going to happen, I would have had no clue. There is nothing in the conversation that indicates whatsoever that that's what's going to happen. And why you're okay with it.
That's great.
He goes on this big rant about you're NASA. You got all these guys just thinking shit up.
Which is a great line.
You don't have a contingency plan. This is the best you got. This is your best idea. And it's like the NASA guy, tell him to shut the fuck up. Yeah, our best plan is to send people into space to land on the fucking asteroid and drill a hole in it and blow it up.
Do you know who
That's not good enough for you, oil man?
Hold on.
No, you have to do it.
Yeah, that is awesome. Wow.
I did notice that. It was terrible.
And from that point
it was like
on,
two different movies, just disjointed at that point.
And from that point on, I just couldn't reconnect.
Okay. I will say that I do believe this is two very, very separate movies, and the first half of this movie is fucking amazing. It is so much fun. I will start off by saying I love the movie Armageddon. I really do. However, having went back and watched it 25 years later, the end of that movie fucking sucks. Everything in space fucking sucks. I want to throw this out really fast. We just did a poll on Facebook and on YouTube to see Saving Private Ryan versus Armageddon because I kind of wanted to fuck with people. And it worked. People fall for shit sometimes. But I do want, these are 2 and 3 in terms of box office, had almost the exact same amount of money made, not quite, but pretty close in terms of once you're at that high, and wildly different movies. But people like movies for various different reasons, right? Sometimes you want to watch really
explosions.
You're getting explosions
You're gonna get that in the war movie.
In both. But in Armageddon, the first half of this movie is so much fun, right? They show the things that are happening. I like it better than Godzilla because I think they move very quickly into what's happening. They
do that. Well, that's one of my problems with the movie is that they have to, because you're given 18 days to save the Earth from a Texas-sized asteroid.
Well, that was part of the problem that I have. Is I looked up how long does it take to get to the International Space Station? How long does it take to get to the moon? It takes like 4 days to get to the moon.
Yeah,
it takes 4 fucking days to get to the moon. And then what?
Yeah, but they had that math. They took off with like 6 days to the deadline.
Yeah,
they only had like 12 hours to drill the hole.
They still learned how to spacewalk.
Yeah, so there is not enough time.
18 days is nothing. And government 18 days?
That's why we brought the roughnecks.
Yeah,
there is no sense of urgency in this movie whatsoever, and it drove me nuts. I'm like, what are you doing? You're all gonna die. Learn something.
So I really enjoy the first half of the movie. I think it's a lot of fun. I think the space sucks. I really do. And I felt that back in the day as well. I was like, I'm not really jamming with this. The way it looks is weird. I don't know. I don't like the art direction of the asteroid or space in general.
The CGI in general is pretty weak. It's 1998. I think the worst part about the space is when they're showing when there's the 2 space shuttles. Yes. They're like cruising through space right next to each other.
Like, guys, move a little
Blue
bit.
Angels.
The one space.
This is all humanity.
How fast was the asteroid going?
I don't know, 22,000 miles an hour.
Okay, we're going 22,000 miles an hour plus because we're catching up on this thing very quickly. And we crash down to a fucking asteroid in space going at that fucking speed.
And 2 people die.
Yeah, but I mean, you're catching up to an asteroid that's also moving that fast.
Fuck that. A dude trips and flies off into space. Flies off into space. Half of this movie is them trying to get back down onto this asteroid. The spaceship that is going 22,000 plus miles an hour crashes down onto the fucking asteroid.
I'd float away.
Yeah. And when do we start training for that?
I will say that there is some saving grace at the end where he's got his little speech to his daughter, which was, I found out the very first day of filming, they sat him down in front of a camera and made the fucking cry. Spoiler alert, by the way. Bruce Willis dies. But it's pretty good acting. I enjoy that sequence where he's talking to his daughter and what he has talked about, how he just thought about talking to his own kids and what I would say to my kids. But that was day one. They like literally sat him down and were like, all right, start crying. Now, anyways, now we're going to start blowing some shit up.
Yeah.
In 98, when I watched it, I better identified with Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler.
Sure.
Right? Like the young kids trying to sneak around away from the parents.
Yeah.
Now that I'm a grumpy old man, I identify with the dads. Right? So I liked the end with Bruce Willis talking to his daughter.
Yep.
I liked when, even though I liked the part where the little boy comes running up to the other guy on the tarmac when they land back on Earth.
Sure.
You know, the dad moments.
Yep. Yeah, that's good.
But how the hell would you let that bitch on the tarmac? She's got a restraining order on.
Yeah, but you never find out why. It was like, oh,
some shit
you're not
happened.
allowed here.
Yeah, some
but
shit
you
happened.
saved the world. So,
all right. Well, let's
beat me
move
all
on.
you want.
All right, let's move on. I do want to say real quick that we got a new segment called Dave Gets Distracted, which is just about me and my inability to watch movies without being distracted by the background.
Mm-hmm.
So Armageddon had 3 moments that stuck out really bad to me. One, there is the teeth on both Steve Buscemi.
His teeth always get me.
They get me really bad in this one because Michael Bay likes to shoot from low.
Right, so you're like a tooth behind a tooth.
He's got like 2 teeth behind his teeth. Yeah. But then Ben Affleck has like way too perfect teeth. Turns out Michael Bay was like, I can't do anything with his teeth. So he made Bruckheimer make Ben Affleck sit in a chair for 8 hours a day for like a fucking week to get his teeth redone. So these are brand new choppers. Distracted Dave. He said, Steve Buscemi, that's $1 million smile. So he liked Steve Buscemi's weird teeth. So I got distracted by teeth often in this movie.
Buscemi's teeth got me a handful of times. Yeah.
Yep.
I really liked Buscemi in this movie.
Buscemi's great in this movie until the end. Gabe, you said as a kid you liked him.
Yeah, as a kid when he goes crazy and kind of starts cheering for death because he owes that guy a bunch of money, I thought it was hilarious as a kid. Like, oh, that's funny. This guy's going nuts. He doesn't care, man. But now it's just like, oh, shut up, man. We're trying to save the earth.
We're trying to save the earth, but yet the camera has not stopped shaking for 15 fucking minutes. I cannot stress enough. I want to put a timer on this movie for when it starts shaking to when it stops shaking. There are 15 fucking minutes where the camera does not stop shaking one time.
This place is like Dr. Seuss's worst nightmare.
The other thing that distracted me was in the background of NASA, there's a scientist, and I'm like, that's Michael Bay. Distracted. I actually backed it back up because I do that a lot. Poor Callie. I back it up. I was like, that's Michael Bay. We backed up to see Michael Bay. He's in 2 little quick shots. And then the last thing was at the very end of the movie, they do that fun thing where it has blown up in space. Same thing happens in Independence Day, right? The ship has blown up.
And Deep Impact.
Okay. It has blown up in space, and you got to do the shots from around the world of people that are celebrating or looking at this happening. And there's a scene where it's supposed to be people in a building in America, and you know it's America because there's an American flag. Otherwise, it would just be a building. Okay?
This is an American building.
This is an American building. Window 1, like a mom and her kid looking up. Window 2, dad and a boy looking up, except the American flag is directly in front of them. They're literally looking into the back of the American flag. Dave got distracted.
They were feeling very patriotic since America just saved the fucking planet.
Again, I go, Callie, we got to back it up. I'm sorry. Are they staring into the back of the flag? So it's still a very fun movie. I can't take the second half of it. I just... Stop shaking the camera. Space looks like shit. And the Steve Buscemi, which I thought was really, really funny, was like, yeah, I'd like this to be done now. I get it. Yeah, can we watch the beginning again? So,
but if you do need to go back and watch that part when they're at NASA first talking to Bruce Willis.
Because
I noticed it too. It was jarring. I'm like, wait,
hold on. What's going on now? What are we doing?
If I'm going into space. All right, let's wrap up this episode super fast. We don't have a ton of time, so I'm just going to throw out Jeremy Piven. The Jeremy Piven Piven scale.
Wow, I cannot believe you got that out.
Jeremy Piven's hairline in this segment is from Very Bad Things, and we're moving forward, folks. We're moving forward.
Okay.
Ari Gold.
All right, and then very lastly, let's talk super fast about the movie Saving Private Ryan. I put these 2 movies against each other online. You would have thought that I murdered people's children. That happens a lot online. How dare you compare Saving Private Ryan to Armageddon? But the reason why you do that is because somehow they made very close to the same amount of money. two completely different films, two completely different filming philosophies, and people really like Armageddon. I was surprised. I thought this would be a landslide after just having watched Saving Private Ryan. I would have thought 70-30. We're at like 57%.
No, it was actually pretty close.
Very, very close. But the reason I did it was because I saw someone that I know on TikTok that had not seen Saving Private Ryan, and they said, I'm just tried watching it for the first time. I couldn't make it through Omaha Beach. So I thought, oh, okay. So there are people out there that because it is pretty intense.
It's brutal.
It is intense.
Yeah, intense is a great word.
So let's go with it. Let's talk Saving Private Ryan.
Vin Diesel, great performance.
I learned that he got the role because Spielberg saw a little short film that he wrote, directed, and starred in that's out there somewhere and loved it. So
was he racing cars?
No, it was like him in a room with a big earring. That's all. I saw like 1 second of it.
Was it the toy commercial he was in?
No.
He was in a toy commercial for like Street Sharks or something like that.
That's
way
awesome.
Back in the day.
That's awesome. This is a phenomenal movie. I just watched it. I did watch it in 2 segments because it got really, really late. It was like 3 a.m. on New Year's Eve.
It's also 7 hours long.
And it's 2 hours, 49 minutes, which is too long.
So
170 runtime. Fun fact, that makes it 2 VHSs.
Yes.
Fun fact, I never watched this movie until like 4 years ago.
Because of that?
Yeah, I don't watch 2 VHS movies.
Okay. To counter that, I am the same. You know that about me. We went and saw this in the theaters, and my friends and I went in. I had no idea that it was that long. We went in, we watched it, we walked out, and it was like we traveled in time because I looked at the clock and was like, what the fuck happened? How is it possible? Because it didn't feel like that at all. Mm-hmm. This movie moves very, very well. It doesn't feel like 2 hours and almost 3 hours.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a 3-hour movie. It's the reason people are mad at you for comparing it to Armageddon.
Mm-hmm.
Armageddon is a fun summer blockbuster.
Yeah.
Let's blow up the earth, right? Eat some popcorn.
Yes.
Saving Private Ryan, in my opinion, it's a classic. It's like it goes in the catalog of all-time great American cinema.
Yes.
So,
but
to compare it to,
you're not. But
there's something about Mary.
You're not.
It's like you got jizz on your ear.
This is why people get mad, though. They think that I'm comparing veterans to roughnecks in space. Mm-hmm. No. I'm saying here's 2 movies that you love. Have at it.
Which one's better? Yeah, which one do you love more?
Have at it.
Yeah.
I will say that I loved it. I got done and I was like, this is in top 5 for me for sure. It holds up so well. It's so well done. It is 25 minutes at the beginning, which is the Omaha Beach.
That's the most intense opening sequence to any movie ever.
Yep. And then the end is 25 minutes as well. The last battle is 25 minutes as well. So he takes this thing and just subdivides it into these perfect little chunks. It's almost the same amount of time to finding Matt Damon to the end of Matt Damon. It's just very, very interesting. And so well done. So well done. The attention to detail is great. It is, I think this is part of why people got mad about it too, is it is viewed as like the most correct representation of what happened.
Yeah, there's, people say that World War II veterans watched the beginning of Saving Private Ryan, and
the government set up a call-in center because they knew this was going to happen, and set up a call-in center for veterans to call into because they
somebody to talk to.
Yeah,
because they knew that they were going to go.
They just relived.
Yep, true story.
The worst.
Yeah,
experience ever.
And I think we're lucky as a society that a film like this gets to get made because it really is. It doesn't glorify. It just shows it. It shows it like it was. And I can't say that because I wasn't there, but I can say that based off of what other people have said, that it shows it like it was. And it isn't necessarily quite like All Quiet on the Western Front, which is also brutal. And I would say, please go watch that movie as well. The new one specifically is holy shit. But it is so much more masterfully done in terms of there is a story here as well, right? All Quiet is just war as hell. This is war as hell, but also these are people that are just trying to keep their humanity. And the way they're keeping their humanity is that there's a great line from the movie about how every time he kills someone, he feels further away from home. And if Saving Private Ryan gets him home, then that's what he's going to do. And it's just it's such a good movie.
And a little bit of humanity from the government, because the reason they're going to save Private Ryan is he had 3 brothers enlisted who also had died. And when they found that out at the Pentagon or wherever, they said, we got to get this guy home so his mom doesn't lose all of her kids.
Yep. So, and that's based off of reality. There was 5 brothers that were on a ship that the ship sunk and they all died. And then the government changed the policy that you couldn't serve with your brothers because they didn't want brothers dying on the same day. And so that really happened. And then I believe it was the Nyland brothers. And please don't quote me on that because I have a terrible ability to call up names. But I think it was the Nyland brothers. It was real life 4 brothers. 3 of them were believed to be dead. 2 ended up actually being dead. And then the youngest brother, the government did do this. They brought him home and had him in I think, military police job in New York or something. And then they actually found the oldest brother in a POW camp. So the basis of the story is in reality. The actual story is fabricated, but yeah, it's just so well done. It is so well done and emotional. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great.
There's the scene where what's the actor's name? Is it a Goldberg?
I know which one you're talking about. It is, I believe it's Adam Goldberg.
I think so, yeah.
Not the Adam Goldberg that made the Goldbergs.
Right.
The Adam Goldberg that got mad that the other Adam Goldberg made the Goldbergs.
But he dies in this movie, and that scene has stuck with me for my entire life, the way he dies. I mean, face-to-face, hand-to-hand combat with a guy who just overpowers him, and just, fuck you.
Yeah. Well, and the guy
that was tragic.
The guy just
super. Yeah. Wait. Oh, don't make me do this.
Meanwhile, the other guy's crying in the stairs because he's
because just get in there.
Yeah, save him. Could save his life. Oh my God, this movie's brutal.
Yeah, it is brutal.
And the dude just walks right past.
Yep, and it wraps itself back around, saves itself. The cool things, just to wrap this up, Spielberg does really interesting things in the film. One of the things was that he went out of his way to make sure that you wouldn't recognize Matt Damon at all. So he selected Matt Damon for the character because Matt Damon was not a well-known actor. And then right before it, Good Will Hunting hit, and he became a huge star like a month before. So that kind of went out the window. But in the film, there's scenes where when his mom is finding out that his sons are dead, there's a photo of all 4 brothers, but they just conveniently have a little tiny American flag covering his face. And it's so small and subtle that nobody would ever see it, but he does that. But right at the beginning of the film, and spoiler alert, there's a pin on the old man's jacket as he's walking up, and that identifies what part of the military he was in. So there's a little clue at the beginning that of who this person is. But I loved the idea that he sent all the actors to a boot camp for 5 days. And a brutal one to where they all voted to not continue, except for Tom Hanks, who was like, no, we are going to do this. All of them, I've watched individual interviews with all of them that said that was the worst experience of their life and I would never do it again. And it was only like 5 days.
Yeah. And Matt Damon did not have to do it. So
not only did not have to do it, Spielberg would not let him do it.
So that the other actors
would resent him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Natural resentment because this guy didn't have to go through the shit that we did.
Yep. So we did the thing together to bond, and then we purposely, you were not allowed to be a part of that, but also you didn't have to go through that. And I think Vin Diesel even, but there was like 5 dudes that all said like, it's the worst thing I've ever done. I'm so happy that it happened because it put me in the right role. But like one of the guys says, the only way for me to survive that mentally was to become that character for those 5 days and just say like, I have to survive this, which is just, it's kind of a bit brutal when then you say like the actual war part, you were just sitting in the mud for 5 days, but cold, damp, wet for 5 days, sleeping outside, eating rations.
Yeah.
And if you're coming from a world where you've never done that, that would mess you up. And then, oh, hey, by the way, this guy didn't have to do that.
And you have to go save his ass.
Yeah. So
one fascinating thing that the movie covered in that final battle that I've always found fascinating about World War II is how much the weather played a part.
Yes. Yeah.
Because in that final battle, like, we were getting our ass kicked. We were about to lose, and then the skies cleared up. Clouds went away. Air Force came in and just leveled all the Germans. But that was World War II.
Yeah.
When it was a cloudy day, we were at a disadvantage. Germans were kicking our ass. As soon as the skies cleared up and our Air Force would come in, we would dominate everything.
Yep. Yeah, I think it was P-52s that were actual tank bombers. So they just come in and just blow the piss out of these tanks. Because tanks are brutal weapons unless you have an ability to just drop something on top of them. Because they can't really do much. Tanks can't do much against airplanes.
Nope.
Not much. So, all right, that wraps that up, ladies and gentlemen. We are not going to talk about the movie The Big Lebowski, which is top 3 best movie in my opinion. And here's why we're not going to do that.
It sucked in 1998.
In 1998, it was not a big deal. So we are actually going to do a wrap up where we talk about all 90s movies. We're going to bring Kevin Yeager back on, a little bit more art housey type of feel to it. And we're going to talk about Big Lebowski then. But yeah, in 1998, and I think it's a perfect reason not to talk about it. It did not do well. And my friends and I saw it and we loved it. But it was one of those things then when nobody knew about it. And then slowly over time, people fell in love with this movie. So what's your final take on 1998 movies?
Pretty fun. Just all fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except for the Private Ryan stuff. That wasn't that fun.
A little depressing.
But it's so good. It's so good.
Incredible movie.
It's so good. And if I had to pick between the two, now having watched them back to back, I would definitely pick Saving Private Ryan. I would absolutely pick that. However, I love the idea that I made people choose. Me doing a popcorn flick where a dude decides over NASA that he is going to space versus a realistic depiction of one of the most brutal battles.
At one point in Armageddon, Bruce Willis actually looks at Billy Bob Thornton's character, the head of NASA, and he says, "I'm not asking, I'm telling."
Yeah, that's
science.
I do remember that part. But that was about like shore leave, essentially.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. We will be back next week. I think we're doing guest again, so we should have a game ready. We'll see what happens with that, but we will be back with that, and then we'll be wrapping back into the news. It's so interesting we've been stockpiling these on YouTube, and it's very interesting when we go from a Be Kind Rewind to a news episode because they are very different things. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back with that, and until then, we're done. I can't believe that. I catch all the weird little things like that. I did not catch that at all. And especially for it to be so jarring for you two.
I don't catch that, and I did. Yeah.
I'm so busy looking at Michael Bay in the background that I didn't catch that he's like, "Hey, I'm going to space."
Well, yeah, if you listen to what this conversation that they're having,
at no point is Bruce Willis going to space.
Yeah. It's never made clear whatsoever, but they both look at each other like, I get it.
Like,
hold on.
Turns out you are.
Literally rewound it and watched the entire conversation 4 different times, trying to be like, what am I missing?
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
We're sending up 2 shuttles, 2 teams.
If I do this, I'm going to want to take my own men.
You got it.